a title on it. They already sent me, something, in response. And so with that being said, I'm gonna get my $12, or they're gonna credit it or something. They're gonna do something because you promised me 2 days, and here we are. So I see us. We're up live. We look good, fellas,
Okay.
as usual. Vid got his hair twisted up. I see how you do. And I feel you. Dom, saying you. Oh, okay.
Support
Support.
your friends. I'm
Well, this
supporting my friend today.
this was good. You always do. We just get on with it and have these conversations on the phone. And I want to say shout out to your better half because she is definitely strong in herself. You know what I'm saying? To allow you to have conversation with another female on the phone at crazy hours in the morning. And you know, we're doing business. So shout out to all of the females out there, all the women out there who are holding their men down and supporting them and not tripping out when they have a female business partner. You know, that's a woman who is strong in her character, and I hope that we birth them, and I hope that we develop them. And you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind. I'm here with my guys, Dominique, Wilford, and I just love this guy to death. All right, we on the 39th episode. I appreciate you bringing in celebrating Women's History Month um, with me. Instead of having females on, I got the guys on. I always want to do that, kind of like sitting in the barbershop with you guys. I got my guy Vid on here. Of course, he's a publisher. He's an author. He's a CEO of 4Unique Publishing of books. Wrote mine. And many more to come. Going back to Dom. Dom, you're with Sports Talk 2319. Give us a glimpse into who you are, what you're doing, what you offer. Because sometimes I sit back and I'm like, that's Tommy right there. That's
I,
Tommy.
oh,
That's Tommy.
wow.
Get at him
Real
more.
witty.
You ain't got no job, Tommy.
Look, I am one of the most important people behind the scenes in sports. With Sports Talk 2319, we are a sports media company. I am a very small clog in a big wheel. With Sports Talk 2319, besides, the wonderful documentaries that, we produce, we just produced one with Isaiah Thomas that went global, worldwide. There's another one coming with, Mr. Fab Five himself, Chris Webber. Also we are the largest independent scouting and prospecting company in America today. And without a doubt, the best when it comes to that. We give you the kids that within 10 years, you're going to say, I didn't know he was a pro. I had no idea. We give you those kids before anybody else. We give you the future of basketball. I'll give you a very quick example. Trae Young, when he was in college, they said he was too small. He'll never make the NBA. High-level NBA executives, scouts, they all said the same thing. Too small. Who is he going to defend? Not good enough for the league. The Atlanta Hawks took a chance, and look where we are today. He's an all-star.
Absolutely, you did. You were big on him. You were big on him the whole time, and I'm talking about years ago. You kept Trae Young, Trae Young, Trae Young, Trae.
And Goody, at the end of this show, I'm going to give you 3 more.
All right.
So to watch out for.
All right, that's what's good. And we're going to wait for that. We're going to wait on that prediction, definitely, because we're going to talk about Super Bowl Sunday. We have so many topics that we're just going to go into today. We'll talk about LeBron. We'll talk about KD. Want to talk about Kyrie, talk about Selection Sunday. We want to talk about some of the media that's out here right now. We just gonna, just basically shoot the it Sunday, and we chop it up. And so let me bring it over here to Vid. Vid, talk to us a little bit about what you've been doing, what's been up the past month. You were here last month on the show. We were talking about books. Talk to us about, what's going on with you, some things that are happening, and some new books that we should probably look out for.
All right, so if Dom is Tommy, I'm Hustle Man, and I'm everywhere. So over the last past month, I've just been getting prepared to launch my updated website. I launched this warrior mindset, warrior lifestyle mission. Overcoming adversity and um, reaching your potential so you can accomplish your goals and dreams. And from the publishing side, just putting out more books. Um, we just had Deja Donut Girl, which is a children's book,
Yeah.
released last week. It's about a young girl that finds out she's a superhero, young black girl at that, you know. Um, yeah, so that's it for right now. I mean, I'm everywhere, you know what I mean? New business opportunities and everything like that. I do want to drop some news. I don't know if you all heard, but the ABA is coming out with a women's division. And I think that's big, but for you guys are the first to know, um, a guy that I know, um, he has an ABA's men team, and now he's going to have an ABA women's team. And I'm going to be the president of both of those teams. So that's something that's new from the last month. So boom.
Nice. Nice.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
See, if I had my little jig that I ordered, if it had gotten here on time, thank you. No, thank you, Amazon. I would have been able to hit the sound clap, hit the button, and we would have heard the crowd. And I'm excited about that. I'm just a little gadget girl. I love it. And so that's awesome to hear. Keep publishing those books. That's my pride and joy. Elevate your game, and that's my pride and joy right there. So, I just keep it moving, and I am going to get up there. Before you say anything, I'm definitely going to get up there and do my author page. I was thinking my to-do list. It was 18 weeks of school for me. And so, quiet as kept. I just kept it moving. Python was hard, 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 hard. Learning the back end of the computer. I was like, what am I doing? Like, what did you just sign up for? Like, why are you doing this? But, in the end, to have the cert and to open it up yesterday and see, the certification with my name on it, and to do the graduation and see my name rolling through the credits and everything. Graduating is different, but to sit there and listen to all of the speakers and everything. So I remember when I was graduating 2 years ago, and to get my master's, and I was like, I didn't go up to Chicago, and I was looking at it virtually, and I was like, that's weird. That's really weird, watching it from afar, not knowing that in 2020 and 2021, I was going to be like looking at it again virtually, because that's the way that it is. The last time was a choice. This time it was like there was no choice. So, I'm definitely, I could get back to, growing the podcast, which I love doing. It is actually on iHeartRadio now, and waiting for Pandora. Pandora, they give you the business a little bit. They really do. But, I just keep on emailing them back until, eventually they put it up there. You got to be persistent. So I want to say shout out to everybody. I'm being a little long-winded, but a shout out to everybody who's podcasting, because, it's not easy. You get into it and you go, whoa. there's a lot of work involved with this, and then that's how I could see how people do it and then they just stop because it definitely is a lot of work. But, I love what I'm doing. So it's great. Like I said, to anybody who's just tuning in right now, I'm here with my guy, Vid Lamonte Bugs Jr., author, publisher, CEO of 4Unique Publishing, and also my guy, the Don Dada. Dominique Wilford. I call him the Don Dada because he gets it done, with Sports Talk. All right, 2319. So for anybody who's just chiming in, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in to a WNBA State of Mind. We were talking on the phone the other day, you guys, and it started with me and Dom, and I was just like, wait a minute. So I called Vid because the conversation was just getting so good. I said, you guys, we got to do a show on Sunday. So, we were talking about all of the topics that are out there. I mean, LeBron is such an easy target for people. He really is. And that's because he puts himself out there. So if you're going to put yourself out there on social media, then you're going to make yourself a target for attacks, especially when you start to, indulge in politics. So we talked about that. Now, I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, all right? But his name is Zlatan. What's his name, fellas?
Well, I'm probably gonna mess it up. Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic.
Close enough.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
athletes shouldn't discuss politics. Shut up and dribble. Like if we had to just shut up and dribble, like how advanced would we be right now in Black Lives Matter? How advanced would we be in Breonna Taylor? How advanced would we be in all of the things that we've passed through as a people if LeBron had to shut up, if Kyrie had to shut up, if KD had to shut up, if the whole Minnesota team had to shut up? One of y'all hit me. Let's go,
I mean,
ODU.
hey, oh, do. But I mean, it's you know what it is. They have it's no issue when anybody else can talk. You know what I mean? But when it comes to us, they want us to stay in our place. Whether you're an athlete, you know, any kind of any type of entrepreneur, entertainer, or whatnot. You know, when we speak, when we're don't have the financial means or don't have the fame attached, is you know, what y'all complain about, y'all just mad because of X, Y, and Z. But then when you have the people that's famous or have the money or whatever, they tell them, what you complaining for? You making money in America. You know what I mean? But it's just a another way of saying, y'all voice don't really matter. You know what I mean? Right is right. It's not about politics. Right is right. And that's what we're speaking out for. So to go back to your question, how far would we be? We wouldn't be far at all. Look what happened, in June, July with with the George Floyd protests and boycotts and everything like that. I mean, the NBA got shut down for a day or two. You know what I mean? Look what happened with old girl, the center. I don't even want to say her name. That was part owner of the Atlanta Dream. You know, if yeah, if LeBron, Kyrie, Renee Montgomery, the other women didn't speak out, the other athletes, not just women, but other athletes didn't speak out, you know, she'll still be um, part owner, and her whole mental discrimination on others was, what I mean, it's still will be still in the forefront, you know what I mean? And it's, they, a lot of times, racism, discrimination in general isn't, we think of it as being blatant, right? A lot of times it's not blatant. It just sets certain things in motion where you deal with it indirectly, if I'm making sense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to say discriminate on you directly by saying, hey, you're old or you're young or whatever. It's just the things that I may do, the actions, you know what I'm saying? I might discriminate on you, because of your color, whatever, but I'm not telling you. It's just certain actions behind the scenes that go on. And so that's what we're fighting for or fighting against. So
Yeah, I just think that to elaborate on that, just the platform, just being able to use the platform. And basically what you're trying to say is that, there's a difference between a man who doesn't have the means, or he's impoverished, he's in a totally different situation. Now you got LeBron who has the money and he has the means and he can use the platform, to get the word out there to a huge a number of people. He put a post up there yesterday, I think it was, with his daughter making a dance move, and 5 million people liked this picture. So with that being said, if you can affect people in numbers, and that's how you create change, it's affecting people in numbers. And Dom, we were talking, moving a little bit from LeBron, but still staying on that same subject. We were talking, and I was like, I'm on Facebook a lot, Instagram a lot, Twitter, but I do put stuff out there, LinkedIn a lot. And so, on Facebook, I see a lot of people bashing KD right now, and it's bothersome. And let me tell you the reason why it's bothersome. And I brought this up to both of you guys, is that why is it that it's only designed for one of us to be a general manager? Now, when LeBron is over here making all of these fantastic moves, buying schools and, investing in our children and, making the moves that he makes in the NBA really is what I'm reflecting upon. He makes moves, okay, and it's always good, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it'll piss off corporate, but either way, he's still making his moves. But when KD decides that he wants to make the same moves, all right, he wants to try to be influential in, and getting Blake Griffin in. Now he's whining. He's trying to be like, LeBron. Now he's this, now he's that. Stay in your place. Why should he have to stay in his place? Why isn't there enough for all of us to be general managers? Why can't LeBron be a general manager? Why can't KD be a general manager? Why can't Kyrie be a general manager? Why can't Steph, all of these guys be general managers? Why is it that LeBron only could have all of this, and then when everybody else tries to do it, people start to shoot at these guys? And I watched this on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, really? We still have this crab in the barrel mentality where, where only one person could be HNIC, and then everybody else got to be sergeants and lieutenants, and corporals. But we can't never get to be president and king. See what I'm saying to you? Am I making sense, Dom? What's up with that, man?
Absolutely, Goody. No, absolutely. And, you got to think about KD, his path, coming in to the league so young, only 1 year of college, was not perceived when he was in Seattle as being very media friendly. Why? He was a kid trying to figure everything out. And, the media kind of pushed it as he's standoffish. He don't want to talk to us. I can't get any press. I can't get an article. He didn't do a lot of articles those first couple of years in the league. Why? He's a ball player first and foremost. He understands his job. He wants to get things done. And then, now as he's matured, the media hasn't matured with him. And they don't want to give him that space, which he deserves as he's matured. From ball player to entrepreneur, he has his hands in so many different things. And within business, within sports and entertainment, if you rub certain people the wrong way, they will paint the narrative as we can't use you. You're a villain now. And if you don't beg to get back in that circle, that's where you stay. It's an unfortunate situation. That kid's going to have a fantastic NBA career when it's all said and done. Off the floor, he is going to make moves that are going to transition not only African American people, but the nation. He's got a bunch of things that he's doing in the background, along with LeBron, along with Carmelo, along with Chris Paul, to improve the quality of life within America. It's a lot of big initiatives that are going to be announced shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I challenge people that are out there that are listening. I challenge you to take those names, those players that Dom just said, and to do your research about them and see what they're actually doing to create change, not only in the community, but in the world, in the nation. And so before you go out there and prematurely say something about that man, you've done your research, and then your statement can then match up with, what the guy is actually doing. And then maybe you won't be out here harping on the guy. Maybe you won't be out here saying the things that you do in a disrespectful manner when that man is a businessman, but you don't like him because he's playing for Brooklyn now, so he's a crook. So you villainize him. And this is the thing that we were talking about, and I see you sitting over there, Vic, because it's going right into what we were talking about when we were talking about the media and how they paint this picture, and I use a perfect example of Shannon Sharp, and I get on him, like he'll post something up, and he's always getting on Kyrie, he's always bashing, you know, every player other than LeBron, because I guess maybe because Brian's always sending him shoes and stuff like that, hooking him up with these expensive cigars. I really don't know what the situation is, but he's just always bashing on these guys. And I said to him, I said, bruh, why are you always bashing on your own brother like that? Why do you do this? And then someone posted, and I was trying to find it today, but I pushed the show earlier. I would have found it if I went on at 2. But there was an article that came out that showed their salaries. You know what I'm saying? Like Shannon making $4 million. You got Stephen A. that's like making like $17 million a year. I mean, so is anybody going to tell you what to do? Is anybody going to paint the narrative for you when they're paying you that kind of money? Do you think that they're going to let you spew off at the mouth on certain topics, on certain subjects? How do they create these pictures?
Dom, you want to go?
Ian, I'm going to let you speak to that first, because when we were on the phone that day, you brought up some terrific points regarding those issues.
I mean, okay, well, I'll just get right into it. It's the Willie Lynch. It goes back to Willie Lynch's letter, and we still on it. They fall into the stereotype of, it's 2 stereotypes that we have as Black people. Either we're loud and aggressive, or we're docile, and it's no middle ground. Like if we're intelligent and could speak our point in a rational manner, where we become a threat. And going using the previous topic, just as an example, or well, even with the Shannon Sharp or Stephen A. and these other guys, they go at KD, Kyrie, et cetera, et cetera. Because just think about it. In the times of slavery, what did they do to the big, strong slave? They broke him down. You know what I mean? So it was a threat to everyone else that you get out of line, we can, you know what I mean? We're gonna break you down. It's a mental thing, and it's still playing on today, but we're using our own. You know what I mean? Even then, um you had the overseer, and you had the overseer assistant, which was usually a slave. You know, that they treated a little better. But yeah, I mean, it's still today, and it's still happening in media where we're again crabs in a barrel. You know what I mean? Yeah, who's going to tell you? Oh, well, they're paying you all this money, but you're a slave to that. You know what I mean? You don't get to paint your own narrative, right? I don't want to go too much ahead. You know what I mean? But I'll just throw out that name I was throwing out over the phone. Look at what happened to Jalen. Um, he bounced back, but Jalen Rose is a very intelligent guy. He doesn't raise his voice much. You know what I mean? Not in an aggressive way. He can talk to you and everything like that. And you know, at one point they took him off of First Take. I think it was called First and 10 or something back then. But because he got into it with Skip and Stephen A. You know what I mean? But he's not an aggressive, and so people like a Kyrie, a KD, a LeBron, and so many others, us included, intelligent, doing things for the people. You know, they have a problem with us because we help other people know that it's possible, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to use certain things, the narrative that they create. KD's lazy. He wants power. Kyrie, he doesn't want to play. But they ain't tell, when Kyrie set out, mental health. Oh, we want mental health. We want to, uh, uh, we putting all this money into checking your mental health and everything. But Kyrie set out for a good reason. But the media portrayed him as what? Lazy and selfish, right? Because of his comments and what he's doing for the community. They're not trying to talk about the good you're doing. You know what I mean? And so Shannon Sharp, Stephen A, they play into that. You know what I mean? And they're very stereotypical. I love them, but they're stereotypical as far as what they portray us to be. And yeah, they always come at anybody that's not LeBron. You know what I mean? And again, that's the powers that be. That's what they want them to do, and they use us to bring each other down. You know what I mean? So anyway,
You're listening to a WNBA State of Mind. I got my guy Dominique Wilford over there from Sportstalk 2319. Vid Bugs Jr., publisher, author of many books and many more to come. Thank you for coming out, watching the show. We appreciate you chopping it up about, some of the crab in the barrel mentality that we still have, how the media portrays us as either good guys or bad guys, and why we have to continue to try to break that barrier down. And that's why we have our own shows. That's why we have our own podcast, so that we can depict and portray people as we want to see them, and we can bring people up that we want to bring up, and we won't bring anybody down. We definitely won't do that. And so, guys, I appreciate you guys coming out. I'm going to flip the script. We're going to get off of that. right there with some of the things that people are doing out there. We're going to flip it to college basketball, which is what we are all anticipating today. And I can tell you this, um, like I said to you guys off the cuff, I used to love Illini when I was a kid. You know, my cousin went there, Terrence Tucker Jenkins played football and tore it up over there. So you can Google him and look at his accolades. Tuck was bad coming out of Jersey City, and he sent me a pair of shorts, and I wore them to death. You know, playing basketball and Illini is balling right now. They're balling right now. I like the two players that they got. They're gonna be a problem, but I also like Pat Ewing back up in there. Georgetown takes the Big East, takes down Creighton. What's up with that? Rick Pitino and Iona. Come on, Dom. Win the MAC.
Absolutely, Goody. And just, I didn't mention to your viewers earlier, when we were talking about Sports Talk 2319, my history in this business, I've got more than 20 years. I've done a little bit of everything. I've owned a team. I've been an executive in the front office. I've owned a league with
Nice.
former WNBA player Janelle Burst. It was a minor league that we created a few years ago. We said, hey, the women, they need a G League just like what the men have. And, we've tried to make changes, within sports. I've coached for, more than 15 years. I've been a scout in the NBA and the WNBA. So my pedigree in this game runs pretty deep.
Yes. 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 So let's talk about it a little bit. I'm happy to see Pat win the Big East. Georgetown back in there. Haven't seen them scrambling around a lot. I mean a lot since AI days. I mean it's time for them to get back. I'm glad that they're back in it. They knocked off Creighton to get there, which it wasn't an easy team to beat. You look at it, you look at the name and you go Creighton. What? Who? What? And then you check them out, and then you get the Scooby Doo face. You know, check them out. But I love what Rick Pitino is doing over there in Iona. And won the MAC, and to see his face back in there. Just who makes you excited right now?
As far as teams go, I mean, this March Madness will be unlike any other thing we've seen previously in college basketball. This particular March Madness is just because of the circumstances that we're dealing with today, meaning COVID, meaning you're going to have kids locked in a bubble, locked in their hotel rooms, food being brought to them on a tray, slid through the door, and they're isolated until it's game time or until they can go to practice. So there's a lot of different mental factors when it comes to that. Who's going to be mentally strong to go through something like that? A lot of these kids have never had to go through that. Same thing with the coaching staffs. They have to be away from their families. They have no time with their families, during this time. It's pretty much going to be all business. Not to mention, the health and safety tests that are going to be done, during this time. That's a lot to endure.
Yeah, absolutely
That's
right.
mentally strong and injury free. Throw the seeds out the window. Gonzaga is a wonderful team. They've got 4 NBA pros on their roster right now. Drew Timme is incredible. Jalen Suggs is incredible. Corey Crispin is incredible. They are the number 1 seed, hands down. But when you throw in all these other factors, what's going to happen? We don't know. You got to tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's definitely a lot of different factors that are out there. Some of the coaching staff, some of the people, may adjust to it better than others, especially those recruiting coordinators. They're away from home, they're away from their families all of the time. They're away from their teams all of the time. So the recruiting coordinators will probably be the most happy in the camp, in the bubble, because they'll actually get to be around the team. They'll actually get to stay, near players and be around people. That life on the road. So that'll definitely be an adjustment for them. Some of the players, I know that they're gonna have their PlayStation game, their games tight, and anything else they're gonna be playing virtual. So they'll keep each other company because they're gonna have them TVs working in their hotel because they're gonna be playing a lot of internet ball and a lot of them gonna be in PlayStation. But they're also gonna have their schoolwork to do, and they'll have plenty of that. And so to keep them busy, they're going to have study hall. They'll do the things that they'll have to do, and actually they'll do more of it. They'll get the opportunity to get more rest because they won't be on campus. They'll get the opportunity to be more focused on school because they'll be in the environment that's going to force them to change. They're going to be in an environment that's going to force them to eat better. So there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be in the positive. They'll definitely is going to be a lot more chalk talk. They'll be able to have something integrated, and even if they don't have them in the same room, they can all be on the internet and share screen if they're ISOing like that. And so with that being said, the COVID test will definitely be up. So it's definitely going to be survival of the fittest. It'll be interesting. They needed to have a reality TV crew in there during this time. I know you wanted to say something, Vid.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm predicting more upsets than we ever seen. That's, because everything changes now. You know what I mean? You don't have the crowds, you know? Again, like you said, you're in a bubble. We seen it with the NBA and the WNBA. You know what I mean? How that makes it different. You take out the well, the crowds and for the NCAA, double A case, but a big draw like Duke brings in thousands and thousands of fans when they play someone like Iona, for instance. But now everything it's an even playing field. You know what I mean? We going with coaching and the hearts of the players. You know what I mean? So I'm predicting a lot of more upsets than we've seen in prior years.
Yeah, if there's anybody out there, that has my number, and you definitely got like some kind of little what is it? Don't you have like the chart where you can pick the NCAA? What do you call
Oh,
that?
the
The
bracket
bracket.
madness.
Yeah, the
Bracket.
Hmm.
Bracket Madness. I definitely want to get in there if I can. You know, um, yeah, definitely and pick some teams. I see some teams that are just rising to the top right now, and shout out to all of the noon ballers because I know, in the afternoon, in college, that college noon ball, how it is where you bring your top five guys and they bring their top five guys and you go in there and you just have at it and you don't want to lose because if you lose, God only knows when the next time it is that you're gonna get back on the court because you down like three, if you lose, you down like 2, 3 games, you might not get back on the court for an hour. You're standing on the side trying to rush every game. Oh, what's the score? What's the score? What's the score? So that's kind of how it is right now. It's just like that rec ball madness. Like whoever, you go in there and whoever comes out, and whoever stays injury free, and whoever can, rebound and make free throws and bounce back and deal with the tidal wave because the game it's just in ebbs and flows and it's just up and down, up and down, up and down. And I try to tell my guys, I'm like, listen, this is their run right now. We got to survive their run, and then we're gonna go back on ours. But when we go back on ours, we're gonna shut it down. We're gonna give them the opportunity to do that. And so when you go away or you playing away, you know, um, you really gotta make sure that you stretch that lead out because you gotta make room for the referees. That Illinois game was, that was ugly. I was like, come on now. I hope the refs don't take over the game. You hate to see that. I can't stand that. It's like, you get this far, 64 teams get this far. Man, come on. You gotta like let them sort it out. You can't be over here hot with the whistle, trying to give people advantage or whatever. Especially when you got three referees. That's six eyeballs. What's up, Dom?
I mean, Goody, you brought up some terrific points, and if I had to go back to um, just teams to look out for, I got to give my guy Juwan Howard shout out from
Yeah,
Michigan. He's got one of the best staffs in the country. If you look at who's on that staff, you got one of the top assistants in the country, Sadie Washington. Incredible as far as recruiting. All the kids that he bought in, they bought into the system right away. They bought into the culture right away. You had a bunch of kids coming from top programs around the country. That rarely happens. There's usually that egos of, hey, I need to up my draft status. Hey, I came here to get buckets. Everybody has bought in to what that culture is over at the University of Michigan. So that's a huge factor, going into March, even though, they did lose the other day. I'm still saying they're going to make some noise. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton, incredible what he does every year with those kids. They play hard. They play super hard. Even when they're down, they never quit. They've got Scotty Barnes over there. You got MJ Walker, just to give you a few names. But he produces pros every year. Not a lot of people want to talk about that. He produces pros every year.
He's so underrated. He don't get the credit he deserves as a coach. He's super underrated.
I'll tell you another thing. Josh Pazner, a great friend of mine over at Georgia Tech, during his interview last night after they won, he had in the middle of the interview, most of the interview, he said, hey, I got to give Leonard Hamilton such credit. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He doesn't get enough credit. This guy just beat you, and he's giving you kudos. He's giving him all the respect in the world because he knows what's going on over there at Florida State. And they far from done. So, for those that fill out brackets, you may want to Florida State all the way across. All the way across.
yeah. So you dropping that knowledge over there like Bitcoin. Telling you, there's definitely a lot of teams out there that are balling. I was watching some ball yesterday in between doing things, and I'm like, wow, there's some teams that are out there balling. I already told you, I'm digging on Illinois. I failed to mention Ohio State is over there balling as well. I'm excited to see what Iona is going to bring. I'm excited to see what Georgetown is going to bring. And uh, when you think about Georgetown, you just think about Junkyard Dog, and you think about that Hoya and that dog with that leash on, and they play like that, and that's the way that what that logo, their logo, that's how they're gonna have to play to come out on top and get to the Final Four and then finally get to the dance. And then, Rick Pitino, he's always had those great teams. They're always scrappy. They're always well coached. I love to see the smile on all of those kids' face at Iona when they won the MAC because you could tell he turned them into winners. You could see, that he gave them something to believe in. And everybody's celebration isn't the same. Duke's not going to celebrate the same as an Iona. Duke has been there so many times, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, pop open a bottle, you know what I'm saying? Iona, you can see their souls jumping out of their chest when they won. And so it was nice to see him come back, him with a different program, let bygones be bygones. Hopefully everything is behind him and, he can start, anew. And it's a perfect example of, you could get kicked down, you could get knocked down, things can fall apart, but God, So Do you have any favorites over there? Anybody that you checking out there that you think is just going to give some people a rude awakening?
I got Florida State and I have Georgetown. Um, I'm not saying Georgetown a win, at all, but they were slept on during the Big East tournament, right? And then, you know, they fight hard. This is Georgetown basketball. One
Yeah.
thing, let's be real. Basketball, college basketball is better when Georgetown is in the field because, you know, they're scrappy, they fight hard, and they bring this certain type of pride to our community. You know what I mean? DC is definitely going to be behind them, but just looking at them, even this year when they lost some tough games, um, they look like the Georgetown from the 80s and 90s.
Ooh.
Not as good players, but I'm saying that fight, what I mean, the pressure, what I mean, no knock to I think the last time they was in was 2015. No knock to, you know, those guys or whatever, but that was a different Georgetown team. When we think of Georgetown, we think of being gritty, you know what I mean, fighting, defense, offense. And this is why they're one of my teams to look at. They're going to give whoever they face issues.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And once again, I want to shout out to all of the people that are out there looking. My cousin Helen Payne out there, shout out. Kim Barnes, what's up? ODU in the house, Lady Monarchs forever. My man on the wheels of steel, Bernard DJ B, Smooth Ravenel, went to high school together, but he turns it up. If you up late at night and you want to hear some house music, please go to my man Bernard DJ B, Smooth Ravenel over here, who says culture is everything, fellas. Elaborate on that.
It is everything. And I'll tell you another team to look out for. Loyola Chicago. Everyone knows them, Sister
Oh,
Jean.
yeah, yeah.
Porter Moser has done over at Loyola Chicago. The 360 that program has done, they've created a tradition of winning. We know what they did a couple years ago with Clayton Custer in the tournament, how they had the whole nation behind them.
Yep.
That could happen again this year. We very well could. They could bust a bunch of brackets.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a couple of bucket brackets busters out there. I really got to get my hands on a bracket and, throw down some coins. Anybody out there taking Bitcoin nowadays? My man over there, football player, decided to get paid in Bitcoin. And actually, I was over there on Clubhouse and I was in the forum with him and talking to him. And, he's a believer in Bitcoin. I am too. I'm following a couple of people. If it isn't anything but Coinbase or Robinhood or Stash or however you can get your hands on it right now, I'm telling you, that's what you want to do. Okay? Because when money goes sour, there's going to be that Bitcoin. So if you have some, you'll be able to navigate through the virtual reality that they're selling right now. I can go and I can buy virtual real estate. So if I go on Facebook and I put on one of those masks, okay, and I go into this reality world, okay, where they have all of these buildings and they have all of these storefronts and they have all of these things, real estate in there. I can create real estate in there, you guys, and buy it. And so when people come into, okay, there's always fighting games, that gun shop, and I buy a gun shop in there and I sell ammo. I really get money. Look how y'all looking right now.
Nah,
Oh, you know,
nah,
and
nah.
Technology.
so just
Technology.
That,
going,
it,
and my mind is vast. I'm always, reading and doing things, and always just venturing off into like Jetson. For God's sake, I just bought a Jetson electric bicycle. People see me just motoring around town. I'm like all badass now. Like, you can't tell me nothing. Saving money on gas, and you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind. My man Dominique Wilford, my guy Vid Lamont Bugs Jr. We're on here chopping it up. Stay woke. Somebody says facts. Hitting up over here. My man DJ says Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And then my man Paul Briggs over there at ODU. We got a lot of ODU on here. Says that Loyola Chicago is the new Butler. What you think about that, Dom? I'm gonna let you answer that.
Hmm. You may be right. I mean, hey, what Brad Stevens did over at Butler, it was amazing, transition. Butler has always been tough in their conference, always. But, he brought them to national prominence, put their name on the map, so to speak. Um, and they've continued that run as a mid major. But when you talk about mid majors, um, once again, you got to talk about Gonzaga,
Woo! They just
undefeated.
among boys. They just men among boys. And they look like men. You know what I'm saying? Beards and they just on a whole nother level. Like there's a whole bunch of prep school dudes over there, or something. But they just textbook you to death first and foremost. They took
Hmm.
Princeton. They took the Princeton offense. They
Yep.
took the whole mentality and has gone to another level with it.
Mark Few has done an incredible job. Before I forget, I want to mention and we close up. Jason Preston,
Mm,
Ohio University,
mm,
one of the most skilled point guards in the country. Goody, you
hmm
got to see him. He's electrifying. He's exciting with the
Wow.
ball. He's something else. You're gonna see his name a lot during March Madness. Bones Highland, VCU.
Yeah, yeah,
Woo! He can go. He
yeah.
can go.
Let me tell you something. VCU is always coming with a full metal jacket. Like, period. Okay, they always prepared. 32 in a clip.
Absolutely.
It's like um the mentality that your boy Shaka left over there with them boys.
It never
Um,
left.
it never left. And they already had VCU, don't get me wrong, that whole area, ODU, VCU, Richmond, U of R, all of them schools, Hampton, Norfolk State, we just like these schools were good schools. Virginia State, Virginia Union, we all knew about each other. UVA, and I could go on and on. Virginia Wesleyan, VMI, I'm gonna throw them in there. I mean, just like so many different schools, and that's why we can go, yeah, oh, I'm going with Georgetown because you know who they are. They right up the road, and it's just a melting pot. JMU, George Mason always had a great program. They were always tough. So anybody that was in the Sun Belt or the CAA, and all of these teams have broken off and have gone all around. Old traditional schools, Western Kentucky, that always keep somebody. Like you can't never count this team out. They'll end up being a Cinderella, creep up in there, and then all of a sudden they're in the Final Four. You know.
Surprise to the nation, but not a surprise to those that are in the know. You know, Kobe Ross over at Pepperdine. He's another kid that is going to be talked about a lot this March.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got my boy My boy Paul over here at Briggs, he said VCU is a curse word in these parts. I'm telling you.
And Goody,
Oh,
you
you
know,
don't want to
also,
hear. Oh, you don't want to hear nothing about no VCU, boy.
another thing we haven't really touched on regarding March Madness, the NCAA kind of let some things out. We'll know some things later on today. There's a very good possibility, that Duke could be back in the tournament. There's a very good possibility that um, team X, Y, and Z could be placed back in the tournament. There are kids that are in waiting to get into this tournament. If, God forbid, a player contracts COVID, we had the thing with contact tracing. The NCAA released the other day. You only need 5 to play, but what happens when you only have 4? They have an option of having replacement teams that will come in. So, it's one of the most unique situations ever.
There is no, a tournament without Duke in it is kind of bleak. But this COVID thing is real, and I think that once people are affected by it, whether it's your team that tested or the other team that tested, or a team around you guys tested, once you go through that 14-week period, and we went through that 2 times, okay, on a high school level, it's like, man, you're just like, oh my God, the hunger. Either you're gonna feel sorry, throw a pity party, not work out, revert back to preseason, and how in your body and how you're in shape, or you're just gonna you're gonna sit there and you're gonna grind. You're gonna beat that treadmill up. You're gonna beat the pavement up. You're gonna go run. You're still gonna get shots up, and if you can't get shots up, you could ball handle. You still can dribble around without a rim. So there's a lot of things that you could do, especially for basketball. I tell people the best thing to do right now, concentrate on your grades, focus on your grades. If you didn't make it and you sitting around waiting for a showcase, you need to, get your grades up, focus on that, work out. If you don't have a basket to go to because they shut it down in your city and it's still not open, okay, go run. The best thing that you could do is run. Lift weights. If you can't lift weights, then you could do calisthenics. You could do push-ups. You could do sit-ups. You could do pull-ups. You could do burpees. All right. You could do up downs. You could do so many things to continue to work on your game. It's incredible. And as we are tying it up, I know you want to say something, so I'm gonna let you go, lad. I'm gonna let you go first. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first. We're closing it down. Say what you wanted to say, and then let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, how they can keep in touch with you, and anything that you got new going on.
All right, I was just gonna piggyback. I was just gonna throw a little shot in there. If you don't have a rim, watch above the rim and do what my man Leon did in there. You don't need no brim. But no, I actually was gonna ask you all before we leave, who's your pick for the women's NCAA?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it is Women's Month, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I
And you already know that I'm just D Staley, D Staley. That's my point guard. So I'm
Yeah.
going to the end. You know, that's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it.
South
Yeah.
Carolina.
I'll tell you, if Mississippi State in the women's tournament, if they get a bid in, Rakia Jackson is one to watch out for. She is the women's Kevin Garnett. He's that good.
Mm,
We
mm,
hear about UConn all the time.
absolutely.
We hear about Tennessee, but when it comes to women's basketball, there's some talent out here. Like these girls are doing things that Goody 20 years ago you guys were not doing. I got to be honest. They dunking now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I,
They
I
dunking.
agree. I agree. I agree. I wish, oh man, and I say too, I'm like, yo, because I used to get up. If I wish I had my teammate Medina Dixon's height, because if I had her height, it was over for the rim. It was so over for the rim. She was a nice, cool 6'3", and she could get up, just get up. Um, but we were all about the pretty reverse layup and 360 finish, whatever. But it was all under the rim. But I kid you not, give me 2 inches. Oh boy, oh boy. But they say the Lord don't give people more than they could bear. Because if I had 2 more inches, it would have been over. It would have been over. So, Vid, talk to us. Let us know what we can expect in the near future for 4Unique Publishing, how somebody can get in touch with you if they're interested in dropping the Kindle like mine, Elevate Your Game. Go drop it on your Kindle, baby.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so my staff, shout out to my staff over at 4Unique Publishing. You can reach us. We're on Instagram 4Unique Publishing, Twitter 4Unique Publishing, Facebook 4Unique Publishing, and you can reach us the website so that's the what do you call it? The numeric number 4 dash U, the letter U dash Nique Nique publishing.com. Just go up there, check us out. Go to the forum, fill it out, get in touch with us. We're just dropping more books, or at least once a month. And that's it.
What's good? Dominique, take us out of here with Sportstalk 2319. Tell people where they can go check it out, where they can download it, where they can listen in on you and Rashad, my man, Phillips.
Absolutely. Sportstalk2319.com. You can go there for all things basketball. To follow myself, you can go to at Coach Wilford on Twitter. I'm on Twitter more than the other platforms. So, for information and news about basketball, definitely, go to the Twitter for that. We got a podcast that we just ran. We have changed the positions of basketball. So we have a podcast called One of One. Rashad Phillips does. Called One of One. He gives you a breakdown. There's no more point guard, shooting guard, small forward, none of that. The game has evolved. You have hybrid guard. You got dual forwards. You got point centers. Check out the One of One podcast, and that'll give you more information. Goody, I'm going to close you out. I'm going to give you one more player. And when I say this, wait a minute. When I say this, you're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a kid that's in my own backyard. I've watched her for 5 years.
I heard that.
By the name of Kylie Davis. She's going to Northern Kentucky in the Horizon League. She could have went anywhere in the world. She chose Northern Kentucky because it was the best fit for her. She could have went to Duke, could have went to Georgia. She could have went to Tennessee. She chose Northern Kentucky. She is the next Dawn Staley. That's a compliment. It really is. Goody. He's the next Dawn Staley. I'm going to send you some film. And when I send you this film, you're going to call me right after and say you wasn't BSing.
She better be Pistol Pete, baby. She better be Pistol Pete. You understand? You heard, man.
I call it a show.
All right.
You put on one heck of a show.
To that, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind as we wind it down with my guy, Dominique Wilford, Vid Lamonte Bugs Jr. It was a pleasure having you guys here. I tell you what, You're running out of excuses, you people who have not downloaded, who have not subscribed, who have not cash apped, who have not supported a WNBA State of Mind. You are running out of excuses. We on Anchor, we on Pocket Cast, we on Overcast, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Netwire, Podle, Podcast app, Himalayas, Castbox, Castaway, RadioNet, Listen app, Radio Public, RSS Radio, Pod Hero, Oxtail, Intel, Primecast, Podorama, Highcast, Procast, Castro, Bullhorn, Podcast 9, PlayerPod, for all the players out there in the Himalayas. Get Podcast, Tapcast, Podster, Podalong, Podcastly. You're running out of excuses. We are on iHeartRadio, baby, coming up in the rear with Pandora. Get that. It's hot. And her prices are insane. God bless Crazy Yeti. I love y'all. Sammy Sosa to all of my people. Stay up, all right? Chinga-ching. Y'all know I love you. Peace out to all of my people. All right? Stay up, fellas. All right? Selection Sunday. Go easy on them over there, Dom. Go easy on them. Love them boys. Really do.